Yeah, it's almost kind of nirvana for engineers and people who construct. Is not only are we continuing to grow, continuing to provide places for professionals to come and work, but we're also providing products that could potentially save somebody's life. All right, well, welcome back to Complacency Kills. I'm Adam Baird. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and also one of the engineers at Kontek Industries. Today we're going to talk about what got us started in engineering in my career and also how I got into engineering blast and ballistic buildings. I'd also like to introduce another one of our engineers sitting across the table from me.
Oh, hey, I'm Alec Baird. I'm obviously Adam's brother. I'm one of the project managers here at Kontek, and I run the shop and run some of the CNC machines and do custom design for customers, and so kind of all over.
Yeah, and Alec kind of touched on an interesting thing here at Kontek, is that our entire engineering and design crew, not only do we engineer and design like traditional engineers, we also are a little bit less traditional in the fact that most of us know how to weld. I can't say that we weld very well. We can stick things together. We also like to CNC machine. We're kind of hacks, so we destroy tooling and machines, but at the same time, too, end up with parts. And, we kind of consider over here in our engineering group that the more hands-on stuff we can do, the better we are at creating, items that can actually be fabricated and manufactured efficiently.
Yeah.
So, it's important to us to not only have engineers that can design well, use all the typical engineering software, but also that are good with their hands. In fact, if you look at us, we're pretty dirty today because we've been out in the shop right before we got pulled in here.
Yeah.
How I got my engineering start? I love working on cars. I love changing oil. I love doing about anything that had to do with machines. Whenever I got into engineering, I thought I'd be designing jet engines at this point in my career. I'm almost 40 years old. I thought I'd be working for Rolls-Royce or General Electric, not at Kontek Industries. Turns out that mechanical engineers, they really just do a lot of design work, anything from vibrations, machine design, all the way to working primarily in HVAC design for large commercial buildings. So it's kind of a little bit different from where I ended up. But that's okay, because I don't think you could really find a whole lot of engineers that ended up exactly where they thought they would be when they went through school. I know you're not the same.
No, I started out as so I did ROTC in college, but I'm a mining engineer by trade, and so I really should be working in a coal mine or a gold mine somewhere. I was a combat engineer officer in the Army, made captain and got out. In the Army, I did heavy construction and a little bit of route clearance, IED kind of stuff. And then I was looking to get out, and Adam contacted me and said I should work for Kontek. So I think it was a good fit because, like he said, we get to design, build, and actually go out and work with the customers. And a lot of times when we're out in the field turning wrenches with people and somebody shows up looking for an engineer, and it's one of us.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice, too, to be able to interface with a customer when they ask you questions about the specific products, BREs or towers. You can almost look at it and say, I am very familiar with almost everything down to each individual nut, bolt, and screw because I either designed it, I drew it, or in some cases I even machined and welded it.
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting deal. That's one of the big things we pride ourselves here at Kontek is whenever you call the company looking for questions answered or looking for customer service or something like that, you don't get transferred to, some off-the-site call center. You actually, I would say most of the time, you get a hold of the guy who actually had hands on your project, the guy who was ordering the material, the guy who was doing the design work. And, a lot of times, too, our response time out to the site, if we're needed, can be a couple days. We're pretty flexible in that, and we send the right guy. And I really think that's important to the two of us. That's kind of why I've been here 10 years. I think Alec's going on 5. And we don't really plan on going anywhere anytime soon.
Nope.
But so, I kind of brought up a few things. BREs, we don't only build BREs. We've got a whole slew of products, several patents, and I know we're over 20 in the number of patents. We've got everything from gun ports to doors to target hardening capabilities to new windows to providing window film to, you name it. You had an interesting project going on the other day out in one of our CNC machines, and it was for who was it for?
It's a company that makes malt for brewing beer. I was designing some big 9.5-inch gears for them and cutting them on our CNC mill because nobody else would build them.
Yeah, everybody else said, no, we're not really interested because it was such a small run part. And this guy, he needed a couple custom gears made. So, we it's a benefit of having our engineers that actually work on our machines. Not only did Alec design, but he also machined the gears on our 3-axis machine outside.
Yeah.
But so we run into a lot of cool stuff like that. I think looking back on my career here, probably the neatest thing I've done so far would just be to the continual evolution of our blast design on our buildings. It seems like whenever I moved here, we started off with a building that was, it was about 2/3, well, probably half again as heavy as our building is right now, and didn't have the same blast rating. And through a lot of design work and a lot of trial and error, Alec and I have been able to get that building to be down to 2/3 to half of its original weight, still retain the same ballistic rating, but it's also gone up in blast rating too.
Right.
And not only on the building but also on the tower. So I can't really think about one thing that I've liked the best or that I can say was the pinnacle of my career here, because it sounds cheesy, but almost every day is the pinnacle, because I continue to learn and I continue to see new things, come up with new fabrication methods, and that's the thing we try to do, is think outside of the box. And as long as we're thinking outside of the box, I end up with something new every day.
Yeah, I think mine would be, if I want to pick one that's personal, is that talk about the continual design, is that our blast rated door latch that we got a patent on, that you and I came up with. I think we're on the 10th iteration of that part, and it just keeps getting better, but there's nothing else like that on the market. And we looked at it and said, well, since there isn't anything, let's build our own.
Yeah, and we can dive in a little bit more to that too, that everything we were using that was on the market just didn't really suit our needs. So we were kind of looking for something and forcing a square peg into a round hole, and we were just getting killed. We were getting murdered by customer callbacks from these, off-the-shelf items not working correctly. So we sat down one day and just said, you know what, we're tired of spending a lot of time out in the field helping our customers out. And so we spent, half a year?
Yeah.
Something like that, design and manufacturing and R&D and testing, all the way to running it through one of our engineering services that we use for blast. And so it retains the same rating as our upgraded building, or as our highest blast rated building.
And to your point on the customer feedback, is why that's had more iterations, is as the customers use it, we continue to improve it and then provide new better features to it to the same people, so it's not just you get what you had.
Sure, yeah, because we had a successful design 2 years ago, and now we're to a design that's a little bit more clean looking, a little more user friendly, a little bit easier to maintain. But I would say so far we haven't had a single callback on that door latch system, have we?
We've ever had one fail.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. A couple other products we can think of too are things like our GP2 port and our GP3 port. Those are something that nobody else has on the market. The cam operation system of our GP2 port, that was a pretty novel design, and also with the GP3 being a almost completely protected gun port that an officer or one of our soldiers can fight out of and pretty well be 100% protected behind. It's a pretty cool deal. And the fact that we can retrofit those almost into any building, any car, any vehicle, armored vehicle, it's pretty neat.
And we make them in-house too, which is something I like. When talking about the machining, is we machine those and they're ours.
Yeah.
And so that puts a sense of pride in them too, so we know we're putting something out like that's quality.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see a 160-pound blank go into a machine and shed 80 pounds of steel in about 2.5 hours and come out as a piece of billet that's been machined into this nice looking item that we then can go and sell. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Sometimes I think we make money off of it because it's fun to do, and it's also you get a little bit of a reward knowing that you potentially save somebody's life producing these products too.
Yeah.
So something I'd like to touch on though too is not only do you have a sense of pride being an engineer. I'm a licensed engineer, and that was one of the big goals of my career, was to pass the licensure test and end up with a license. But something I never thought about in college was the potential that we'd be out in the in the economy creating new jobs for people. We're bringing back manufacturing back to the United States. You can touch on it a little more than I can, because since you manage the shop, you know a little more about it. But it's been kind of neat in the last couple of years that we've really poured a lot of resources in the development of a place for professionals that are skilled tradesmen to come in and do some work.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy knowing that so much of our product is either built here with our guys. I mean, I've got 4 fabricators and welders up in the shop right now, and we bring in people to do machining and so on. And then this kind of sphere of influence outside of that, of all the other local shops that we use and local metal providers and painters and guys, electricians, and everybody is, like you said, as we're bringing it back here, it's built, in North Carolina or built out in Missouri, and it's, American labor and American work. And it's nice to know that what we're doing, we can stand behind it because we've seen it, we've touched it, it's something we've designed and put our eyes on. It's not just a product we put in a box, put on a boat somewhere and ship it out.
Yeah, it's almost kind of nirvana for engineers and people who construct, is not only are we continuing to grow, continuing to, provide places for professionals to come and work, but we're also providing, products that could potentially save somebody's life, make a, a man or woman come home to his family at the end of the day. So that's kind of neat too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the end goal for all of this stuff, is to make it more efficient, easier to use, so people will use it, because, human engineering, something's hard to use, they're not going to use it, and that could be an issue.
Right.
So,
yeah, and more affordable, and
right. Is there more of them out there, then that's more lives to save in that sense.
More affordable, and also a big thing is feedback. We pride ourselves in getting feedback from our clients and making things work. I don't think we've really ever said no to anybody. It's just a matter of, can we get it to work around what their specific needs are?
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool too. And that you could take somebody who wasn't going to use a defensive position and design it for him to be more user friendly, and now you end up either saving his life potentially or making something that's actually usable.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've heard that we weren't going to get something like that because everything else on the market just didn't fit our needs, and we just kind of gave up. And then you can tell them, no, we actually can do that for you, and you get a product out there.
Yeah, no,
in that case, it's not about the sale. It's knowing that somebody's going to use that, and it could, like you said, save somebody's life.
Well, that does it for this episode of Complacency Kills. It was great. Hopefully you guys liked it. Got any questions about BREs, construction, fabrication, basically anything we do here at Kontek, which is all the way from the ground up, give me a call. I'm Adam. Again, I'm an engineer at Kontek. We'll see you guys next time.